What happens when two of music's biggest stars? Longtime friends sit down for what should be a fun, lighthearted interview, only for it to spiral into one of the most uncomfortable moments in daytime television. That's exactly what happened when Blake Shelton walked off Kelly Clarkson Show, leaving fans shocked and wondering what could have triggered such a reaction. The tension had been simmering from the very first question, and by the end, the frustration on both their faces was impossible to miss. Before we dive into the exact exchange that led to Blake's abrupt exit, make sure to hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments whose side you're on in this unfolding drama. The studio audience was buzzing with excitement that afternoon, eager to see Blake Shelton step onto the stage. Kelly greeted him with her signature radiant smile, arms open wide, and the crowd erupted into applause. For a fleeting moment, everything seemed perfectly normal. The two shared a warm hug, exchanged pleasantries, and Blake settled into the guest chair with his usual relaxed demeanor. "Blake Shelton, everybody," Kelly announced, gesturing toward him as the applause continued. "It's so good to have you here. It's been way too long." Yeah, it has, Blake replied, adjusting in his chair. "Thanks for having me, Kelly." Of course. "Of course," she said, leaning forward slightly. "So, I want to dive right in because there's been a lot of talk lately about your music, your career choices, and I think people are really curious about the direction you're heading." Blake's smile remained, though a subtle shift flickered across his expression, barely noticeable, but there. "Well, you know me, Kelly. I just do what feels right." Kelly's tone stayed light, but there was a thread of curiosity weaving through her words. "Right. But a lot of people have noticed that you've kind of stepped back from certain things. You left a voice. You've been selective about your appearances. Some are even wondering if you're taking a step back from music altogether." Blake chuckled, but the warmth of his usual laugh was absent. "I wouldn't say stepping back. I'd say being more intentional about what I do. There's a difference." Sure. Kelly nodded. "But intentional can also mean distancing yourself, right? I mean, we've known each other for years. We've been through The Voice together, celebrated win. And I just feel like lately you've been different." The audience sensed the shift immediately. What had begun as friendly conversation was starting to feel like a subtle interrogation. Blake's jaw tightened, and he leaned back slightly. "Different? How?" he asked, his voice calm but carrying a trace of defensiveness. Kelly paused, choosing her words carefully. "I think what I'm trying to say is that it feels like you're not as present as you used to be. And I don't mean physically, I mean in the industry, with your fans, with the people who've supported you all these years." Kelly, "I'm right here," Blake said, gesturing to himself. "I'm doing interviews. I'm making music. I'm living my life. Just because I'm not doing it the way everyone expects doesn't mean I'm not present." "Okay, but let's talk about that," Kelly pressed on. "You say you're making music, but your last album didn't perform the way your previous ones did. And I'm not saying that to be harsh, just stating facts. Your fans are wondering what's going on. They're wondering if your heart is still in it." Blake's expression hardened. The tension that had been quietly building now reached a palpable edge. The friendly energy of the interview giving way to something heavier, more charged, until the moment Blake finally stood up, leaving the audience and Kelly stunned. "My heart has always been in it," Blake began, his voice steady but firm. "Just because one album doesn't hit the numbers people expect doesn't mean I've lost my passion. That's not fair, Kelly." "I'm not saying you've lost your passion," Kelly clarified, though her tone remained pointed. "I'm saying that maybe you've lost your connection. And I think that's something worth talking about, because your fans deserve to know where you stand." "My fans know where I stand," Blake shot back, his voice rising slightly. I don't owe anyone an explanation for how I choose to live my life or make my music. I've been in this industry long enough to know that you can't please everyone all the time. Kelly leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. But isn't that part of the job, Blake? Connecting with people, staying relevant, showing up when it matters, staying relevant. Blake repeated sharply. Is that what this is about? You think I'm becoming irrelevant? I didn't say that. Kelly replied quickly, though the damage was already done. I'm just asking questions that I think a lot of people are wondering about, right? But the way you're asking makes it sound like you've already made up your mind about me, Blake countered. You're sitting here questioning my commitment, my connection, my relevance. Like I haven't been doing this for over 2 decades. The audience fell silent, the tension palpable. Kelly shifted uneasily in her seat, clearly not expecting the conversation to take such a sharp turn. I'm not attacking you, she said softly. I'm your friend. I care about you and your career. I just think that if you're going through something, if there's a reason you've pulled back, people would understand if you were honest about it. Blake stared at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. You know what, Kelly? Maybe the problem isn't that I'm not being honest. Maybe the problem is that everyone expects me to share every single aspect of my life, every decision I make, every thought I have. And when I don't, suddenly I'm distant. I'm different. I'm not connected. That's not what I'm saying, Kelly insisted. Then what are you saying? Blake asked, his voice steady but firm. Because from where I'm sitting, it feels like you brought me here to put me on the spot, to make me justify myself. And I'm not going to do that. Kelly took a breath, clearly trying to regain control of the conversation. Blake, I brought you here because I thought we could have a real conversation, not some surface level interview where we talk about your favorite color or what you had for breakfast. I thought we were close enough that we could be honest with each other. Honest is one thing, Blake replied. But this feels more like you're trying to prove a point, and I don't appreciate it. The room was thick with discomfort. Every camera seemingly zooming in closer to capture each flicker of emotion on their faces. Okay, let's take a step back, Kelly suggested, her tone measured. I don't want this to turn into an argument. That's not what this is about. Then, what is it about, Kelly? Blake asked, spreading his hands. Because you've been coming at me pretty hard since I sat down, and I'm trying to figure out what I did to deserve this. You didn't do anything, Kelly said. I just think that when you care about someone, you call them out when you see them pulling away. And I've seen you pulling away, Blake. We all have. Blake shook his head slowly. That's your perception. That's not my reality. Then help me understand your reality, Kelly urged. Because right now, all anyone sees is someone who used to be everywhere, who used to be the life of the party, the guy everyone wanted to work with. And now, you're just not. I'm not. Blake asked, his voice low. Not entertaining enough for you? Not desperate enough to stay in the spotlight? Not willing to play the game the way you think I should? That's not fair, Blake. You know that's not what I meant, Kelly said, eyes wide. Do I? Blake challenged. Because it sure sounds like you're disappointed in me for making choices that don't fit your idea of what my career should look like. The silence that followed was deafening. Kelly opened her mouth to respond, but Blake stood abruptly, gripping the armrests as he pushed himself out of the chair. You know what? I think we're done here, he said. The weight of his words filling the studio. The audience gasped collectively, a ripple of shock moving through the room. Blake, wait, Kelly said, standing as well, her hand reaching out instinctively. Come on, don't do this. Sit back down. Let's talk this through. Talk what through, Kelly? Blake shot back, his voice carrying across the studio. You've made it pretty clear what you think of me and where I'm at in my career. I don't need to sit here and be lectured about how I'm not living up to your expectations. Kelly's face flushed, her struggle to maintain composure evident to everyone watching. That's not what this is. You're twisting my words. Am I? Blake asked, turning to face her fully. Because from the moment I sat down, you've been questioning everything: my choices, my commitment, my connection to my fans. You didn't bring me here for an interview. You brought me here to make a point. The point I'm trying to make, Kelly said, her voice rising to match his, is that people care about you, Blake. I care about you. And when someone you care about starts pulling away, you don't just sit there and pretend everything's fine. You say something, Kelly insisted. But that's the thing, Blake fired back. You're assuming I'm pulling away. You're assuming something's wrong. Did it ever occur to you that maybe I'm just fine? That maybe I'm happier than I've been in years because I'm finally doing things on my own terms? Kelly crossed her arms, her expression a mixture of frustration and concern. If you're so happy, then why does it feel like you're running away from everything you've built? The Voice was a huge part of your life for years, and you just left. Your touring schedule has been practically non-existent. Your social media presence has dropped off. Those aren't assumptions, Blake. Those are facts. Facts without context, Blake said sharply. You're looking at the surface and deciding you know what's going on underneath, and you don't. Then give me the context, Kelly pleaded, her voice softening slightly. Help me understand, because right now all I see is my friend making decisions that don't make sense. And when I try to talk to him about it, he gets defensive and shuts down. Blake ran a hand through his hair, frustration evident. I'm not shutting down, Kelly. I'm refusing to justify my life to you or anyone else. There's a difference. But why? Kelly asked, taking a step closer. Why is it so hard for you to just have an honest conversation? We've known each other for years. We've been through so much together. Why can't you just talk to me? Because this isn't a conversation, Blake said, his voice dropping but still firm. A conversation goes both ways. This is you deciding what my life should look like and then being upset when it doesn't match your picture. The audience was completely still, every eye glued to the exchange. Some looked uncomfortable, others riveted, but all were watching. That's not true, Kelly said, shaking her head. I don't have a picture of what your life should be. I just want to make sure you're okay. Is that so wrong? It's not wrong to care, Blake said. But it is wrong to disguise concern as criticism. And that's what this has felt like from the start. Kelly's jaw tightened. If you think I'm criticizing you, then maybe you need to look at why that is. Maybe there's something in what I'm saying that's hitting a nerve because deep down, you know I'm right. Blake's eyes narrowed. There it is. That's what this is really about. You think you know better than me about my own life? I think I know when my friend is struggling, Kelly countered. And I think you're too proud to admit it. Struggling. Blake repeated incredulously. You think I'm struggling, Kelly? I'm living my life the way I want to live it. I'm making music I want to make. I'm spending time with people I want to spend time with. Just because that doesn't look the way it used to doesn't mean I'm struggling. But it's not just about what it looks like, Kelly pressed. It's about what it feels like. And I'm telling you, from the outside looking in, it feels like you're isolating yourself. Blake laughed, but there was no humor in it. Isolating myself. I'm literally standing on a talk show in front of hundreds of people right now. How is that isolation? You know what I mean, Kelly said, her voice rising in exasperation. You're physically here, but you're not really here. You're guarded. You're defensive. You won't let anyone in. Asterisk, maybe I'm guarded because every time I try to have a normal conversation, it turns into an interrogation. Did you ever think of that? Blake asked. Asterisk, Kelly's expression shifted, a flash of hurt crossing her face. Is that really what you think this is? An interrogation? Asterisk, what else would you call it? Blake said. You've been grilling me since I sat down. Every answer I give, you push back. Every explanation I offer, you dismiss. So yeah, Kelly, it feels like an interrogation. Asterisk, I'm pushing back because your answers don't add up, Kelly said firmly. You say you're happy, but you're angry. You say you're fine, but you're defensive. You say you're living your life on your own terms, but it looks like you're running from something. Asterisk, maybe I'm defensive because you're attacking me, Blake said, his voice loud enough to echo slightly in the studio. Did that occur to you? Asterisk, I'm not attacking you, Kelly insisted, though her voice was strained. I'm trying to have a real conversation with you, and you're making it impossible. Asterisk, no, Kelly, Blake said, pointing at her. You're making it impossible because you've already decided what the truth is. And nothing I say is going to change your mind. So what's the point? Asterisk, Kelly stared at him, and for a moment neither spoke. The weight of the moment hung heavy, silence filling the studio. Asterisk, the point, Kelly finally said. Her voice quiet but intense, is that I care about you. And I'm worried about you, and I thought that meant something. Asterisk, Blake's shoulders sagged slightly, and for a brief second his expression softened. But then he shook his head. It does mean something. Kelly, but caring about someone doesn't give you the right to tear them down under the guise of helping them. Asterisk, I'm not tearing you down, Kelly said, her voice breaking slightly. I'm trying to reach you. Asterisk, well, you're going about it the wrong way, Blake said flatly. He looked at her for another long moment, then glanced toward the exit. I think I should go. Asterisk, Blake. Please, Kelly said, her voice almost pleading now. Don't walk out. We can fix this. Asterisk, we can talk this through. Blake turned back to her, his expression weary. Asterisk, I don't think we can, Kelly. Not right now. Not like this. Asterisk, what does that mean? Kelly asked, her voice rising in desperation. Are you saying we're not friends anymore? Asterisk, I'm saying, Blake replied slowly, that I need some space, and I need you to respect that. Asterisk, Kelly's eyes glistened, and she looked genuinely shaken. Blake, come on. This is ridiculous. You're really going to walk off my show because we had a disagreement? Asterisk, it's not just a disagreement, Blake said. It's the fact that you ambushed me on national television and expected me to just sit here and take it. I won't do that, Kelly. I respect myself too much. Asterisk, ambushed you. Kelly's voice cracked with emotion. I invited you here as a friend. I thought we could have an honest conversation. An honest conversation isn't the same as a public confrontation, Blake said quietly. Kelly stood there, her hands now at her sides, and the conflict played out clearly across her face. Part of her wanted to keep pushing, but another part seemed to realize she might have gone too far. The audience remained frozen, watching this private moment unfold in the most public way possible. Asterisk, Blake, Kelly said, her voice barely above a whisper. I never meant for it to feel like a confrontation. I genuinely thought we could talk about this openly. That's what friends do. Asterisk, friends also know when to back off, Blake said, his tone less angry now, but still firm. They know when they're crossing a line. And Kelly, you crossed it about 10 minutes ago. Asterisk, then tell me where the line is, Kelly said, spreading her hands in a gesture of helplessness. Because apparently, I don't know anymore. Apparently, wanting to understand what's going on with you is crossing a line. Asterisk, Blake sighed deeply, and for the first time since he stood up, he looked genuinely tired. The line is when you stop asking questions and start making accusations. The line is when you decide you know what's best for someone else's life. The line is when you use a platform like this to corner someone instead of just picking up the phone. Asterisk, that last comment seemed to hit Kelly hard. Her expression shifted, and she nodded slowly. You're right. I should have called you. I should have talked to you privately about all of this instead of bringing it up here. Asterisk, yeah, you should have, Blake agreed. But you didn't, and now here we are. Having this incredibly uncomfortable conversation in front of all these people, and I can't do it anymore. Asterisk, so what are you saying? Kelly asked, genuine fear in her voice. Are you saying our friendship is over? Asterisk, Blake looked at her, really looked at her, and some of the hardness in his expression melted away. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I need time. I need you to understand that I'm allowed to live my life without constantly explaining myself. And I need you to trust that I know what I'm doing. Asterisk, but how can I trust that when you won't talk to me? Kelly asked, her voice cracking again. How can I know you're okay if you won't let me in? Asterisk, you can trust it because I'm telling you, Blake said simply. I'm standing here, looking you in the eye and telling you that I'm okay. I'm more than okay. And if you can't accept that, if you need me to perform some version of happiness that makes sense to you, then maybe that's your issue, not mine. Asterisk, Kelly flinched at that. For a moment, she looked like she might cry, but she held it together, taking a deep breath and nodding. Okay, I hear you. But Blake, you have to understand where I'm coming from. You were such a huge part of the voice, such a huge part of that whole world, and then you just left. You didn't really explain why you left. And people wondered. I wondered. Asterisk, I don't owe anyone an explanation for that decision, Blake said, his voice softer now. It was time. I did it for as long as I wanted to, and then it was time to move on. That's it. There's no big dramatic story behind it. Asterisk, but that's just it, Kelly said, taking a tentative step closer. There doesn't have to be a big dramatic story. I'm not looking for drama. I'm looking for understanding. I'm looking for my friend to tell me what's going on in his life.